Yasodanandana Brajachanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kajabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kajabi Hari Jayam Swa Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Swa Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Asatar Sata Shri Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mae Ki Jai. Yamuna Mae Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, given by Srila Vyasadeva, Canto 2, Chapter 2, The Lord in the Heart, text number 27. Na yatra shoka na jara na mrityu na arti na cha udvega rite gitaschit yat chit tata ada kripaya anadim vedam duranta dukkha prabhava anudarshanat mayatra shoko natara namatyur Nachodve gavate kutaschit. Yachitata da kripayanadim vidam. Varanta dukkha prabhavani darshanat. Niyatra soko najarana mrityur. Natir na chodvega rate kutaschit. Yachita toda kripayana damvidam. Duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat. Nayatra yoga shoko najarana mrityur. Natir na chodvega rate kutaschit. Yachita toda kripayana divadam. Duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat.
Ayatra shoko najarana mrityur. Nartir nachodvegarite kutaschit. Yaschita toda kripayani dambidang. Duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat.
Nayatra sukho najarana mrityur. Natir na kodvega rite kutaschit. Yachitatoda kripayan idam vidam. Duranta dukkha prabhavan nu darshanat.
Nayatra shoko najarana mrityur. Nartir nachodvegarite kutaschit. Yachchita toda kripayanidam vidam. Duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat.
Nayatra shoko najarana mrityur. Nartir nachodvegarite kutaschit. Yachchita toda kripayanidam vidam. Duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat.
Nayatra shoko najarana mrityur. Artir nachodvega rite kutaschit. Yaschit tatoda kripayani dam vidam. Duranta dukkha prabhavanu darshanat.
Nayatra shoko najarana mrityur. Nartir nachodvega rite kutaschit. Yachita toda da kripayani dam vidam. Duranta dukkha prabhavan darshanat.
No, never. Yatra, there are. Shoka, bereavement. Na, nor. Jara, old age. Na, nor. Mrityu, death. Na, nor. Arti, pains. Na, nor. Cha, also. Udvega, anxieties. Rite, save and accept. kutaschit, sometimes, yet because of chit, consciousness, tata, therefore, ada, compassion, kripaya, out of heartfelt sympathy, anidam vidam, of those who are ignorant of the process of devotional service. Taranta, unsurpassable, dukkha, misery, prabhava, aggrandizement, anudarshanat, by successive experience. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore no anxieties, save that sometimes to the consciousness, there's a feeling of compassion for those who, unaware of the process of devotional service, become subjected to the aggrandizement of unsurpassable miseries in the material world. Report. Foolish men of materialistic temperament do not take advantage of successive authorized knowledge. Vedic knowledge is authorized and is acquired not by experiment, but by authentic statements of the Vedic literatures explained by bona fide authorities. Simply by becoming an academic scholar, one cannot understand the Vedic statements. One who has to approach the real authority, who has received the Vedic knowledge by disciplic succession, as it is clearly explained in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Lord Krishna affirmed that the system of knowledge as explained in the Bhagavad Gita was explained to the Sun God, and the knowledge descended by disciplic succession from the Sun God to his son Manu, and from Manu to King Ikshvaku, the forefather of Lord Ramachandra. And thus the system of knowledge was explained down the line of great sages, one after another. But in due course of time, the authorized succession was broken, and therefore, just to reestablish the true spirit of the knowledge, the Lord again explained the same to Arjuna, because he was a bona fide candidate for understanding due to his becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, as it was understood by Arjuna, is also explained, Bhagavad Gita 10, 12, and 13. But there are many foolish men who do not follow the footsteps of Arjuna in understanding the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. They create instead their own interpretations, which are as foolish as themselves, and thereby only help to put a stumbling block on the path of real understanding, misdirecting the innocent followers who are less intelligent, or the Shudras. It is said that one should become a Brahmin before one can understand the Vedic statements. And this stricture is as important as the stricture that no one shall become a lawyer who has not qualified himself as a graduate. Such a stricture is not an impediment in the path of progress for anyone and everyone, but it is necessary for an unqualified understanding of a particular science. Vedic knowledge is misinterpreted by those who are not qualified Brahmins. A qualified Brahmin is one who has undergone strict training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Translation again. In that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore no anxieties, save that sometimes, due to consciousness, there's a feeling of compassion for those who, unaware of the process of devotional service, become subjected to the aggrandizement of unsurpassable miseries in the material world. In this purport by Srila Prabhupada, there's a great amount of knowledge to chew and digest. I'll just comment, first of all, on the first paragraph. This is the statement of Srila Sukadeva Goswami to his disciple Maharaj Pariksit. And to the materialistic person, the planet of Satyaloka seems very wonderful and very attractive, but compared to the Vaikuntha region, it's insignificant. Because although in the planet of Satyaloka, where Lord Brahma has a duration of life, which is unimaginable to those of us on this earth planet, 311 trillion, 40 million earth years is the duration of life of Brahma. Who can imagine that? Jai Shishi Gornatai. But still, even Lord Brahma has to change his body. And Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, from the highest planet in this material universe down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein there's repeated birth and death. So Lord Brahma is the first spiritual master in this line of the disciplic succession, and he heard the knowledge from Lord Narayan. And because he repeated the knowledge as it is, without adding anything, without subtracting anything, he's the head of our sampradaya. And this Rupanunic Veda College, there's a nice exhibition on the wall of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, going back directly to Lord Krishna. And this is the sign that this transcendental knowledge is bona fide, because it hasn't been changed one iota. If one changes the words of the spiritual master, if one changes the words of the previous acharya, then his preaching becomes contaminated, and it will not have the desired effect, because purity is the force. And today there are many so-called religions, so-called dharmas, but very few of them are giving the pure thing. So this Krishna consciousness movement is so valuable because it is pure. And it directs us to go back home, back to Godhead, not to become attracted by Satyaloka or any other loka in this material universe, but to go to that place where there's no need of sunshine, there's no need of moonshine, there's no need of electricity, where everything is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. And the only desire of the inhabitants there is to please the Lord. They don't care for their own happiness. If one wants his own happiness, then he has to remain in this prison house of material world. But if one takes the opposite way and tries for the happiness of Krishna, tries for the happiness of the Guru, then he's elevated to that supreme abode, even at the end of this life. So Krishna is always joyful. Krishna never has any bereavement, but sometimes he feels compassion for his sons and daughters who are suffering in this material world. And the pure devotee has the same feeling of compassion for the suffering living entities. And he tries his best to elevate them back home, back to Godhead. And those who are repeating this message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18 that there is no servant who is more dear to him than he who repeats this message for the devotees. So we're very fortunate that we have heard this message from the great Acharya Srila Prabhupada. And these books are the law books. It is said in the purport that to become a lawyer, one has to learn from the other experienced, learned lawyers. One cannot become a lawyer by studying at home. He has to graduate from the law school. And then he has to take the bar exam and so many other things to become an authorized lawyer. So to become a Brahmin, one has to take the knowledge from the experienced authorities who have assimilated this knowledge. And this knowledge is not acquired by experiment, but it's a shruti. It's acquired simply by hearing. By hearing, one can attain the highest perfection. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is so important. And this purport refers to chapter 4 in Bhagavad Gita. Evam para prabtam imamaja shayo vidahu sakalena mata yaganashta parantapa. Lord Krishna says, the supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. So this Krishna consciousness movement is nothing new. It's very old. It's Purana. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana. And if this knowledge is interpreted, then the whole thing is spoiled. And Srila Prabhupada's books are very easy to understand. And we're very fortunate that he presented this knowledge for the first time in the English language in the authorized Parampara. But there are many other hundreds of editions of Bhagavad Gita presented by persons who are not in the Parampara. And nowadays it's fashionable to interpret the Shastra in one's own way. This was started by Shankaracharya many centuries ago. Shankaracharya commented on the Vedanta Sutta in his own way, Sarvaka Bhashya. And because it was not according to the Parampara, that knowledge has misled so many persons on the path back home, back to Godhead. They've diverted persons from the path back to Godhead, and as a result, the people have become more interested in sense gratification. So there's two things in the Vedas. There's the path of Nivritti Marga and Pravritti Marga, and the Acharyas recommend the path of Pravritti Marga, the path of renunciation. And the Vedas also deal with Nivritti Marga, the path of regulated sense gratification, which is authorized in the Vedas, but that's a long way to perfection. But the Nivritti Marga, the path of renunciation, is the fast track back home, back to Godhead. And also Prabhupada refers to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 12 and 13, where Arjuna says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pvatam Paramam Bhavam, Purusham Sastam Divyam, Ali Deva Majam Babum, Ustam Rishya Sarve, Devarshir Naradastata, Asito Devalo Vyasa, Swam Chaiva Pravishime. Arjuna said, you are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the supreme abode and purifier, the absolute truth, and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original, and you are the unborn and all-pervading beauty. All the great sages such as Narada, Asuta, Devala, and Vyas proclaim this of you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me. Hey, that was the first paragraph in the purport. Now, the second paragraph in the Srila Prabhupada's purport is as follows. The Vedic wisdom guides us to understand our relation with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and to act accordingly in order to achieve the desired result of returning home back to Godhead. But materialistic men do not understand this. They want to make a plan to become happy in a place where there is no happiness. For false happiness, they try to reach other planets, either by Vedic rituals or by spacecraft, but they should know for certain that any amount of materialistic adjustment for becoming happy in a place which is meant for distress cannot benefit the misguided man, because after all, the whole universe with all its paraphernalia will come to an end after a certain period. And all plans of materialistic happiness will automatically come to an end. The intelligent person, therefore, makes a plan to return home back to Godhead. Such an intelligent person surpasses all the pangs of material existence, like birth, death, disease, and old age. Actually, he is happy because he has no anxieties of material existence. But as a compassionate sympathizer, he feels unhappiness for the suffering materialistic men, and thus he comes occasionally before the materialistic men to teach them the necessity of going back to Godhead. All the bona fide acharyas preach this truth of returning home back to Godhead and warn men not to make a false plan for happiness in a place where happiness is only a myth. So this is a very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada, and he explains that the devotee has no plans. The devotee only accepts the plan of Krishna, the plan of Guru, and thus he is saved from the aggrandizement of unsurpassable miseries of the material world. Before this class, I looked up the word aggrandizement in dictionary, and it means the increase. If one doesn't accept the plan of Krishna, if one has his own plans, then he's condemned to the increase of material miseries in this material world, one birth after another, birth after birth. So it says in the Shastras that the more one tries for one's own happiness, the more he experiences unhappiness, just opposite result. But the more one tries for Krishna's happiness, the more one becomes peaceful and happy. Because spirit souls, we're not these bodies, but we're servants of the servants of the servants of the damsels of Raj. This is our constitutional position. The more we become servant, the more we can become happy and peaceful, because no one can become master. If we don't become servant of Krishna, then we're obliged to become servant of Maya. No one is master of Maya. That's not possible to achieve, because the master of Maya is Krishna. We're not master, we're servants. So this Vedic understanding is very simple, but sometimes it's difficult to apply, because from time immemorial, we've been trying to become masters of this material world. Even the tiny ant is trying to become master of the natural resources and to exploit other living entities. But a devotee tries to help other living entities by guiding them back home, back to Godhead. So this is the greatest welfare work. And by understanding Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we can understand our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The impersonalists don't want any relationship because we have bad experience in this material world that relationships are painful. They cause distress. In the beginning, they might be somewhat pleasing, but in the end, they're always painful. And there's ultimately separation. There's ultimately they're separated by death or rather by material circumstances. But if one revives his eternal relationship with God or Krishna, then he becomes eternally happy. And that relationship is never broken. It may be temporarily forgotten. Sometimes the son forgets his relationship with his father, but the father can never forget the son. And the father always encourages the son, even if the son tries a little bit to revive his forgotten relationship. The father encourages him more and more. So every step we take toward Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps toward us. Krishna is so kind. Are there any comments or questions? Smagatari Prabhu.
Sometimes I've heard it said that if we experiment with the process of Krishna consciousness, then we can, Krishna will help us understand it more. So I'm just wondering if experimenting with hearing this subject matter is a process to gaining transcendental knowledge.
Yes, very good. The science, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the science of God and our relationship with God. And if we follow the preliminary process, we'll get the result. And there's jnana and there's vijnana. There's academic knowledge and there's realized knowledge. Just like a chemist may have academic knowledge that water consists of H2O, 2 atoms of hydrogen for every atom of oxygen. But that's academic knowledge. But if he can demonstrate in the laboratory how to make water out of hydrogen and oxygen, then that's like real knowledge. That's practical knowledge. So this Krishna consciousness is practical. And gradually we'll realize our eternal relationship with Krishna, and Krishna will become a tangible reality, not just some academic figurehead. It's Magatari Prabhu.
This has been on my mind, that if we just have theoretical knowledge of God, of Krishna, of devotional service, then how are we expected to preach to people? Isn't it kind of hypocritical or something?
If you preach exactly what you have heard and what you have realized, then that's perfect preaching. Just like Malati's little daughter, Saraswati, she was only like 3 or 4 years old, but she understood that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And little Saraswati would go to some friend and, do you know Krishna? And the friend would say, not very much. Who is Krishna? And Saraswati would say, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's perfect preaching. Even though she was just a tiny child, she was preaching what she heard from her guru. So anyone can do this. Whatever we're appreciating in Krishna consciousness, Krishna's so kind, Krishna's so beautiful, Krishna's so loving, we can repeat that to whoever we see and whoever we meet, and that's perfect preaching. Radha Stoli, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, you're speaking about relationships and how we should develop our relationship with Krishna. But I was thinking, so often we hear that we need relationships with devotees and we can't advance without them. So can you speak on that?
Yes, Krishna is the ultimate object of love, and in every religion, whether it's Christianity or Islam or the Jewish religion, God is recognized as the Supreme Father. And if we love the Father, automatically we'll love all the sons and daughters of the Father. And this is perfect love. Otherwise, if we don't know who the Father is, if we have no knowledge of the Father, how can we love his sons and daughters? It's not possible. So first we have to love Krishna. First we have to love the Guru. And we also have to have affection for our God brothers and God sisters. And it says that a Madhyamadikari, he accepts Krishna as the ultimate object of love, and he makes friends with devotees, and he preaches to the innocent, and he avoids the atheist. So we should all aspire to become Madhyama Adhikaris. And there's different practices in practicing love between one devotee of another. One can offer prasadam, one can accept prasadam, one can reveal one's mind in confidence, one can inquire confidentially, and one can give a gift to a devotee, and one can accept a gift from another devotee. So these are the different loving exchanges between devotees. And we practice this in the Krishna consciousness movement to strengthen our relationships with each other and with God, with Krishna. It's time for the Sankirtan Festival. All glories to His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Oh, yeah.
So this week we had some book distributors, and we'll announce the scores for the pleasure of Sri Sri Gauranitai. Ki Jai. And the Sampradaya Acharyas, and Srila Prabhupada, and Tulsi Maharani, and Lord Nrsimhadev, and the assembled devotees. So this week we had We had 6 books distributors. So in 6th position, with 1 small book for 0.25 book points, Radha Stali Devidasi. Haribo. In 5th position, with 1 big book, Hare Krishna, for a total of 1 point, Bhakta Juan Prabhu. Haribo. Thank you. In 4th position, with 6 small books, 1 big book, 4 Maha big books for a total of 10.5 book points, Bhakta Damodar Prabhu. Haribo. In 4th, right? 4th? 3rd? In 3rd position, with 8 small books, 1 big book, 4 Maha big books for a total of 11 book points, Rishi Kumar Das. Haribo. In 2nd position, with 9 small books, 7 big books, and 2 Maha big books for a total of 13.25 book points, Magadari Prabhu. Haribo. In 1st position, for a total with 6 small books, 1 big book, 7 Maha big books, for a total of 16.5 book points, Jagannath Prabhu. Haribo. And that makes the RVC total for this week, 30 small books, 11 big books, 17 Maha big books, for a total of 52.5 book points. Rupanuga Vedic College Ki Jai. Jagannath Prabhu, would you share a highlight with us?
So we went to Tropicana, and there was 2 people. I think I'll pick one. There was one guy I went up to. He was in a big truck, and I told him that I can't remember exactly what I did to start off the conversation, but I started telling him about the books, and he was looking through it, and then he told me, yeah, I'd read this because I just beat a murder charge. And I was like, I had no idea what to do at that point. I was like, wow, that's great. So it was pretty intense, but he was looking for a new start. So I'm glad I was able to give him some books, and I forgot to send the details to Rishi Kumar Prabhu about his information. So hopefully we can get him here next week. So thank you.
So, a couple of years ago, the temple president, his name was Maruta Prabhu. He's a really nice devotee. He loved to serve prasadam to the devotees in large quantities. And one thing that I would see him doing was pacing in front of the temple. And I always liked devotees chanting publicly with their beads, because somebody can take notice and something like that. So I was just pacing in front of the temple after the Sunday program, trying to catch up on my rounds. And these people pulled around in their car and they said, "Are you a monk?" And it was these 2 guys, and they were kind of, some gangster guys with an Escalade and things. And they were like, "We can't believe it. You're a monk in the hood." And it was pretty interesting. But I got the feeling like they were genuine characters. Their character was nice. So they said, "Let's talk, let's sit down right here in the grass." So, I sat with them, and we were talking about some things, and they were very interested in the knowledge, but you know, they've also been on their own journey. One of them said he had 10 kids. He was 33 years old. He had 10 kids by the same wife, which I thought was incredible. And he said, you know, he tries to teach them about God. He said that his father is a doctor in theology, but he's kind of like been making his money on the streets and stuff like that. Anyway, him and his partner, they decided earlier today that they wanted a new start. They were going to start making money clean. And they started a business called like Proper Balance Logistics, something like that. And they went, this gentleman, his name was Kenny, he went to a church that morning and he gave like a large donation to help them fix their floors and things. But he was very much feeling Krishna's hand that somehow or other they had come to meet me or meet the devotees, meet somebody that was able to teach them about how to receive the protection of God. He said that he went to the church that morning to receive protection because he felt something in his life really was not right. Something was going very wrong. So he was very interested in the beads, kunti malas, you know, my chanting beads, different things like that. So I ended up running to my car. I got some japa beads and some Bhagavad Gita SSR, and I gave it to them. They were very happy about that. They gave a big donation. Got Bhagavad Gita and an SSR each, and they gave me $40, and I gave them some beads, and we chanted the mantra, and they took some stickers for their kids, and that was it. So Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai.
Jagannath Prabhu, Damodar Prabhu, and I went to this Spanish shopping center. The main place there is called Palachana or Tropicana. And I was standing outside the Sun-Fresh, and it was kind of slow. And this guy walked by, this big firefighter guy. And right when he walked by, I just started remembering Parmeshwar Prabhu. Sometimes he would talk about when someone would come up to his book table and he just knows like this person will be like a great devotee. So I don't know that I've ever like noticed something like that myself, but I was just thinking of him saying that as this guy walked by, and he looked like I don't know, not just every other person that we usually see. But he had already passed me, so there wasn't really like it didn't seem like there was much of a way to get his attention. And he was down the parking lot a little bit. But I was thinking of Parmeshwar saying that, and then I just called out to him. I said, "Hey, are you a firefighter?" And he looked like he like kind of didn't want to turn around, but then he did. And he looked back and said, "I am." And I said, "Thank you for what you're doing. Here, I got one for you." And just ran over to him and I showed him the Bhagavad Gita. And I just tried to tell him a little bit about it, something that might be interesting to him. There's a few things I've heard other devotees say about it before. And yeah, he was very happy to take it. He was like a very serious person. And it was interesting meeting him. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Next, we have Bhakti Damodar Prabhu's ecstatic highlight Ki Jai.
Yeah, at the Spanish shopping center. There was some boy sitting on a bench, and he was like 9 years old, I would say. He looked like he had the maturity of like, I don't know, 20-year-old or something. He was all fresh. He got a nice haircut, nice shoes. And so I just approached him and I was like, hey, did you get one yet? And I just showed him a book and he just immediately gave me a donation. He's very surprised. And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I left, didn't really have much to say to him. And then I saw Rishi, they were diving into the books and the guy was chanting. They were chanting together and apparently his dad was there working. Anyways, that was an interesting interaction with a young sage, two young sages, two Rishi Kumars. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai.
Most of my book distributions are by Magadari's Mercy. He's teaching me. But we were at Lewis Park and we were chanting, we were doing our thing. And this dude, like, as soon as he saw us, he started like bowing. And that was pretty nice. I was like, oh, this guy has like some respect, I guess, for the thing. And I kept looking at our prasad and Magadari was like, yeah, go take one. I was going to give him a piece of watermelon, but as soon as I approached him, he was like, nah, I ate like 20 oysters already. And then I was like, wait, like take this apple at least. Like we've offered it to God. He ate it first. Now it's his remnants and it could rid you of some karma. And he liked that immediately. So as soon as I told him that, he grabbed an apple and he like busted out a 20. And then I was like, well, take this Bhagavad Gita as well. And he was like, no, I already have some of those. And like, I tried to give it to him, but he wouldn't want to. So I went back. I was about to sit down, told Magadari, and then Magadari was like, well, at least give him this one. And then it was a self-realization. Went running back. I was like, please just take this one, please. And then he was like, no, like right where I'm at, books don't help. I was like, at least you can look at the pictures. And he like looked at it at Vishnu. He was like, okay, I'll leave it in my car. And yeah, it was a pretty cool interaction. But Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai.
I forgot what day, but I was doing some service on the computer and I was like, I'm going to go to the park. Maybe I'll hear the devotees. I'll just hide on the side and listen to them sing Harinam while I do my service. And as soon as I turned into the park, I just heard all the kirtan. I heard the kartals, mridanga. I'm like, I can't not join that. So I drive past them. Everyone's smiling. It was Mridanga, Magadari, Bhaktavan, Rishi Kumar, and Damodar Prabhu. And so I joined them. And then I saw this lady with 3 kids. She was walking by really slowly and they kept looking at us. And I was just thinking, okay, I should approach them. So I ran up to them and immediately one of the young boys, he said, what kind of yoga is this? And I was like, you know, yoga? And he looked like he was like maybe like 8 or 9. And I explained to him the Maha Mantra and I said, you know, we're glorifying the names of God. There's many names for God. And so I shared the Maha Mantra with them and the woman couldn't speak good English. So the son was translating for me. I always find that pretty fascinating when like younger sons like know more English than the mother or father. So it was really nice to talk to this young boy. And so they took a little book, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai.